Checking in from quarantine headquarters. Here's another bass review. We're showing off another one of my basses. This one here, this one's a special one. Another Ibanez. If you remember the last video, we had Ibanez 5-string. This is an Ibanez BTB846SC. And DTL, I think, is the final thing on that one here. But what does that mean? BTB is another series of Ibanez basses. They're known, it's kind of like a more boutique-y style, fancy, upscale, beyond the average style, I guess. They're known for having a 35-inch scale length. Sound gears all have 34-inch, the other style I had. So 35-inch scale length. Again, scale length is distance from here. This is the bridge. This is the nut. What else can I say? This one is a single cut, meaning that it has just the lower bout cut away, the upper bout's not. Kind of like a Les Paul, like a lot of early guitars, regular electric guitars did. What does this do? This, I guess, kind of helps with neck stability to a certain extent. Also looks pretty damn cool. But other than that, you know, that's the main instances on that. This is a very well put together. It's for the money that this goes for. This goes for $1,100 brand new. I did not spend $1,100 on this one. I got this one used, but barely used. It was actually slightly neglected. It was hanging on the wall. Wherever it came from, there was no tension on the truss rod. There's a metal bar in the neck of a stringed instrument that allows it to counteract the tension of the strings to keep it so that it's playable, so it stays straight. That was not adjusted, and the frets here, all up here, were too high, and it was unbearable, unable to play. I got it for almost over $400, less than what it would go for. New, and my good buddy Rick Shaw was able to level the frets off, and this bass is incredible. Let's get into a little bit more details, but it's also, you know, this is more or less my bass now. And it's pretty recognizable. This one is, I call this one Bertha. Yes, after the Grateful Dead song Bertha, which is a fun song to play. But originally we called it Big Blue Whale, but I mean, it kind of looks like a sperm whale with its mouth open, I think, here in the body, but Bertha, I think, is a much more appropriate. So what can we tell you about this one here? So this bass has quite a few interesting features. First off, the construction of this bass is what's called neck through body. So in this case here, the neck goes through the body. So the whole length of the bass is the neck of the neck. This one here is also what's called a laminate. This style here was referred to as a hippie sandwich back in the day. Because back in the late 60s, early 70s, a lot of was the beginning of the custom boutique instrument building time. And a lot of those luthiers, Alembic being the key among them, who built instruments for you know, Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane at the time, and Quicksilver Messenger Service and whatnot, and those bands, they utilize multi-woods in the construction of the instruments, and so that's refers to the hippie sandwich, and it's also derogatively known as a tabletop bass in some cases because of the type of wood used on the body. But anyways, it is a through neck construction, and the neck is 5 pieces. It is maple and walnut. So there are 3 big sections of maple and 2 sections of walnut. And again, as I mentioned before, the lamination, it makes it stronger. So ideally much better to withstand fluctuations in humidity and temperature, which can cause the neck to shift and move. So much more solidly built in that sense. There are people who will say that a neck through is a better design because it improves sustain or whatnot, and whatever. I don't know. I've had neck through, I've had bolt on, I've had set neck, and whatever. I don't think there's a huge difference, but I'm not an expert in that. But a lot of that's opinion. But going beyond that here, this is really interesting, the woods that they utilize in this instrument. So the body itself, the wings, these are come off the neck. This is mahogany, which is a very, very common wood used in the construction of solid body guitars. Les Paul guitars, their bodies are mahogany. They have a maple veneer on top, but this is a mahogany body with ash, a layer of ash, and then on top this is poplar wood, poplar burl it's called, and then this is stained in what Ibanez calls the deep twilight finish, DTL, in that. 846, I'm not sure, 800 is a certain series which denotes its high scale. I'm not sure what the 4 stands for in this case here, but the 6 obviously stands for 6 strings, 2 more strings than your standard bass. This is tuned, the 4 interior strings are the same as a regular 4-string bass, E, A, D, G, C, E, A, D, G. The low string is 1 below an E, a 4th below an E, which is B, and the highest string is it's a 5th below an E, which is a B, and then G, a 4th above the G is the C, because each string is a 4th above the string that precedes it. Very common now. This was actually kind of radical in the 70s. A gentleman named Anthony Jackson, great bass player, plays a riff that almost everybody knows, but nobody knows who it is that did it. The For the Love of Money riff. I just screwed it up. But that was him, Anthony Jackson. He got together with a luthier in New York named Carl Thompson, and he came up with this idea of, he calls it the Contra Bass, which he conceived as a totally different instrument. I mean, the bass guitar is kind of a guitar, but his idea was to go with the low B and the high C, and he was a pioneer in that type of instrument. And to this day, he plays 6 strings. He also uses a single cut. His instruments are now made by a high-end manufacturer out of New York called Fodera. And what is his bass is called the Presentation Series. He's an incredible bass player, jazz. We've worked on some really good instruments with a Japanese jazz singer whose name I'm forgetting at the moment, but go look up Anthony Jackson. You'll be impressed. Anyways, what more can we say about it? So that's how this instrument is played. This, again, 35-inch scale. The typical scale of a bass is 34 inches, so it's an inch longer. The body is pretty large, and the scales went down. I'm a big guy, so it looks pretty normal on me, but on some other people it may not look quite as nice. But anyway, so what is the point here of a 6-string? Well, you get lower notes, obviously, so more bass, right? Or bass. Low B. Actually, though, one of the benefits, and the main benefit, now on a 4-string bass, you know, like I said, you just have these interior 4 strings, and the biggest advantage that a stringed instrument has over a keyboard manual instrument is that, you know, on a keyboard, each note appears just once, and so if you want to play, it's very hard. You need the 2 hands to do large shifts. On a string instrument, you know, this starts B, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Well, this string here picks up where this fret goes. So you have the same note available to you in multiple places. So I have an E here. Those are both the same E's. Here is an E note, which is also available here and here. So you can see on a stringed instrument like this, it's much more flexible. You can play in different positions, is what they're called. And what the 6-string bass does, it allows you, so on a 4-string you tend to have to move up and down the neck when you want to shift. So he's playing a song in G, so here's a simple bass line. Go 4, 5. Now with the 6-string here, what I can do is when I need to go to the 5, there's the 1, there's the 5 there. I can just go down. So my hand as much. So that's the biggest advantage of a extended range bass like a 6-string will provide you, is that it's easier to play. You have a lot more notes available to you under one hand position. Now, I have very large, very freakishly long fingers compared to a lot of other people. And my style is different than a lot of other people. I can play a lot more with my pinky than some other people I see. Traditional, like stand-up bass teaches you to fret with 2 fingers like that, but I tried learning guitar at one point and wasn't very good at it, but what that allowed me to do was I got a lot of dexterity out of my pinky. And I'm able to easily fret notes with my pinky that a lot of other people can't. Not that hard, it just takes a lot of practice, but I digress. Anyways, where were we? Alright, so that is the 6-string bass there, in that sense here. This, from an electronic standpoint, these are pickups made by a company called Bartolini, who is one of the... they've been around for a really long time. I think in the 70s. They're not the first aftermarket pickup company, but one that really innovated a lot. And they're in a lot of high-end basses. These are bass pickups that are specifically designed for Ibanez. And then these knobs here make up the preamp. So the pickup, the bass doesn't make any sound without a battery in it, which isn't always the case in basses like this. The Ibanez makes a lot of basses where there's a switch you can turn off the preamp and make a sound without the battery, but for whatever reason this bass doesn't. But I'll show you what these controls are. This is the master volume control. This controls the overall volume of the bass. This is a pickup balancer. When it's in the middle like this, both pickups are in equal volume. You roll it forward, it highlights this pickup, the neck pickup. You see a little more earth barking to it, and you roll it back, it picks up this pickup, the bridge pickup, which gives you a bit more of a bright, more nasally sound actually. The most pleasable sound. But anyways, then these next 3 knobs here are the EQ controls. You have bass, the mid-range, and the treble controls, which they have a set frequency center, which is escaping me at the moment, but you control with boosting or cutting. So obviously you go this way, you get more bass. Bass, and you roll back the other way, you get a lot less bass. Same thing here with the treble. Treble boosted, and I gotta say, for a lot of basses, I'm not sure what the center frequency is, but it's got to be 10 grand or below, I would say, because it really isn't overly bright, which is nice. And then this, of course, is the treble rolled all the way off. And back to the center. Now, the mid-range, this is the secret sauce in this preamp, and which makes the bass sound excellent. And any active preamp that has a mid-range should have some way to vary the frequency of the mid-range. And this is, from a bass standpoint at least, what frequency you choose to boost or cut makes all the difference, especially, like I said, on a bass instrument. So this switch here determines what the mid frequency is that you are boosting or cutting, and the frequencies are 250 hertz, 450 hertz, and 700 hertz, which is low mid, mid, and high mid. And so what this does, so here we are, this is with the EQ set totally flat, normal, everything, nothing boosted or cut. Just go through an A scale there to make simple. Now, the preamp, the frequency is set for 700 hertz. If I take the mid control and roll it back, what I'm doing is I'm cutting the frequencies at 700, and then the way the EQ works is it's not just that frequency, it's a range of frequencies. It's kind of like if you have a string and you pull the string up and down, that point you pull moves, but then the areas around the string move. That's how the frequency. So let's listen here. You can tell. So it sucks out the 700 frequencies and all that, and it gives it much more of a lower sound. Pull it back to the middle. So this is, I say, the mid is incredibly important. It makes it sound almost like you boosted the bass, but I didn't. I cut the mids. I cut the high mids, so it pulls out some of that high. Now, if I flip it all the way up to the lowest frequency, the 250, now I am scooping out the lowest end of the mid, and now you get a much more brighter sound. Now listen. Like the 700. So that's not boosting, that's cutting. So that's just a EQ tip for you in general. A lot of times you want to pull out frequencies and not boost them if you want to get your music to sound just right. So if you have a equalizer on your stereo or whatnot, and you want to try to make the sound better, try grabbing frequencies and lowering those frequencies. And then that's just with the 400 here. Back to the middle. Here's with the 400 boosted. Here's with the 700 boosted. It's going to be really bright. And here's with the 250 boosted. Here's the 250 boosted on the neck pickup. That's some EQ tips for you. You may or may not be aware of that if you're a bass player, and just in general, being able, the mid frequencies mean more, and by de-emphasizing certain frequencies, you allow other frequencies to stand out without having to boost. So, friendly tip. What else about this? So, as I mentioned, it's a 35-inch scale, and 35-inch scale is good for low-frequency instruments. Now, it's longer than a standard bass guitar, but still shorter than an upright bass. An upright bass is 42 inches, I think. Feel free to correct me. So it's closer in scale, and what that does, obviously, is it allows the lower strings to sound out more. There is a definite relationship between the tension and the timbre of the note based on the length of the string. So the lower tuned a string goes, the longer you want it to be in order for it to sound properly. Now, that being said too, and that's one of the drawbacks of a 35-inch scale 6-string, is that on the higher tuned strings they don't quite sound as well. The G is all right, a little bit twangy, but the C at times not bad, but it can be a little bit of twangy sometimes, and especially the way you if you dig in too hard or whatnot. Now, there actually is a solution to that. A gentleman named Ralph Novak had designed a multi-scale fan fret system where each string is actually set to its optimal length. So usually that's like about 37 inches, I think, for the B string, and around 32 or so for the C, for the highest string. And how does that work? You know, the strings are all different lengths. Well, the frets are fanned. Do you ever see any of those instruments with this? Frets are at angle. That's what that is. It's compensating. It's trying to make it so that each note sounds the best and sounds most in tune, because no matter how well in tune you have an an instrument, it's still going to be slightly out because of the nature of the tuning system that we utilize in Western music, but that's a whole other story. Anyways, so yeah, this is, as I said, I got a great deal on this bass. I just need a little bit of TLC and typical maintenance, and this is just an incredible instrument. Like I said, the majority of basses you see are 4 strings, and hey, you guys that play 4 strings, when you come up to us guys that play 5 and 6s, we really don't care that you don't. Anyways, what else can we say? So what I love about this instrument is the fact that it is so flexible. I can play just about anything on it. Being able to go down low to get that lower notes, especially I've been playing a lot of Grateful Dead lately. Phil Lesh, the bass player for the Grateful Dead, was one of the people who into rock music at least really popularized and brought out the 6 string. He started using them in the early 80s, not long after Anthony Jackson brought the idea forward. It wasn't the first, but one of the guys that probably most popularized it. So and he's with a couple detours, for the most part, for almost 40 years he's been playing 6 string bass guitar. So that's not the reason why I got this one. I got this because it's an incredible bass, but I play in a band that plays a lot of Dead songs, and so it fits very well. And he's been known to do something called a fill bomb, which he basically just does a big power chord with the octave there, and but what the 6 string allows you to do is to really get in. So I can get in, get a big bomb there with the C. And I was watching a video the other day, because what else you got to do in quarantine or lockdown or whatever it is we're in. I think it was from it was a Grateful Dead show from the 80s. I think July 4th, 1989, for those in the know. Rich Stadium in Buffalo, I believe it was. And they're playing the song Bertha. And in one of the verses, he is hitting that low C when it goes to it, because the verse is in see Jerry and Bob, they're the guitar players in the Dead, for those that don't know, looking over and kind of smiling and laughing, because he's probably making that whole damn stage rumble with the sit that he has, because that's the second lowest note that he can get down to on that. And he was known for having a big, loud, clean, powerful sound, and still is known for that. And so that's just some of the fun things you can do with this type of instrument. But one of the main reasons that I began playing basses beyond 4 strings was I began playing in the early 2000s, playing a lot of country music. And more modern country music utilizes multi-string instruments, a lot of low Bs. But I was playing with so many different people, and they were changing the key to the song, so they're moving it. So in standard tuning, the biggest advantage that a standard tune instrument has is something called movable shapes. So what that means is, so this is a G major chord, called G major scale. That's it there, starting on that fret. That G major scale is still the same thing. If I play it there. Now, if I want to do a C major, it's the same figuring, and so on. So what the lower instrument would help is, would say the song is in E, which is usually the lowest. So you're playing off there, and then you learn the song, you know it, you got it down, hey, all right. All of a sudden, there's another band, there's another singer, and oh, I do that song in D. Oh, you do you? Oh, okay. Which means, what do? Well, with this instrument, I mean, with a 4 string, you either got to tune down or play up here, but I can just go here. So, say that's the E. Oh, you do it in D, okay. Okay, D, I can do that. Incredible. I play a lot of people. I play with a lot of open mics and do whatever, and after though you learn a song one way, and that's these multiple swings. But anyways, that's where I go from there. What else can I tell you about this instrument? Like I said, it's just incredibly flexible. Love it. Oh, it has something called a 0 fret. I left that part off here, right here on the. You see right below the nut. There's a fret there, and what is that? The 0 fret. What that does is that balances the string volume, so it makes it sound. So some instruments, a open note. See, they're pretty similar there. And what it does, it gives them sort of the same tonality, and it also allows you to get the action pretty low. With the 0 fret, so like I said, the strings on this, it does not take a whole lot of effort to play this instrument, which is incredible. Which is something I need to remember. Most of my career, I've played instruments that have higher action, and as I've gotten older, I've gotten smarter, and gravitated more toward instruments that the action can be lower on, which takes a lot less effort. Something else you can do on the 6th string that is harder to do on the 4th string. You can play out of tune chords. I totally screwed that up. That was meant to be dissonant, that one. But this is a major, not a major dominant 7. Not that chords are all that important on a bass, but it gives you a chance to be a lot more expressive and play different things. And like I said, it makes it really, you only need one instrument to play a lot. And that's the main thing I like about it. Anyways, that's the Ibanez BTB846SC. Feel free to throw a like, leave a comment. I'll respond to any decent ones. I'll have one last space here, at least, that I can show off. We'll be doing that one a little bit later. Like Low End Lobster, I think, is going to be doing a video on that same bass shortly. So maybe I can do a response one to his. Anyways, I'm just screwing around right now. Again, that's that. So hope you're staying safe and enjoying yourself. And I think the lighting is probably horrible in this. I'm sitting right under the light. I look all washed out. So not professionally shot, just meant to be just fun and hanging and whatever. Feel free to comment or say you stink or wow, this is boring or whatever. This is Tales from Lockdown. We're doing our best to keep ourselves from going insane. I have 3 dogs, which are helping me go insane in other ways. So that's that. Be well, enjoy, and we'll catch you with another video soon. Peace out.